What is going on, everybody? Luke here. So today's video is me short and sweet, keep it easy. We're going to be talking about when do you decide to sell out of your Q4 stock over holding it into Q1. Similar to something like advent calendars, of course, very specific time frames you need to sell it in, and if you don't, yes, you can sell them in December, but you know, is it worth holding them? Probably not. You want to get rid of them before. And same with products in Q4. You might get to, you know, it's the 20th of December now, you might get to the end and go, wow, do I bring down the prices, break even, take a small loss, whatever the plan is, get rid of that stock and move on for next year? Or do I hold it, or do I try a mixture of both, depending on the stock? If you've got tons of stock, of course, you don't want maybe to hold 500 units into Q1, but maybe it's worth to hold 100, 200, so on. So what's the best strategy here? So really easily, nothing fancy, you want to go on to keeper. Now, this you would look at and go, maybe it's related to a bit of a Christmas product, but you know, it's because it's got some coldness in it, like a little ice flake or whatever they call it. But there's no direct relation to actual Christmas. It just kind of means like a winter puddings selection. That's kind of what the feel of this is. And of course, January is winter. Yes, there's mentions of Christmas, but people don't necessarily go into the details of this. I'm more looking at the products. And of course, what I would do is I would just drill into the data. And yes, you can see, you know, really you can see that most of the time this product is never sold outside of the period of Christmas, because it is basically a Christmas product and it probably won't be available. But you can still see that there are sales here at a nice price in January. So it doesn't mean that you can't sell it, but from what I can see here, I would say I wouldn't want hundreds of these, because the ranking obviously does go up. You could break even by bringing that price down a bit maybe, but it does sell, so you have options, yeah. And of course, all the way through the year, someone obviously had some in May, and you can kind of get, there was a couple of sales, but again, in summer and stuff like that, of course, less likely to sell. It's meltable, all that kind of thing. And so these are things to bear in mind. I move on to another example here. This product, a Thornton's seasonal selection. The reason I use Thornton's is because they're just really easy to go over. You know, you can look here and you can see that again, they're usually quite seasonal. They're not sold outside of that period, but it doesn't mean on the flip side that you couldn't hold some in knowing that they're usually going to sell out and there'd be no one else, and you can then be the only seller trying to sell the products. The only risk with that is that will it sell outside of the period of when it's actually meant to be bought and sold. Obviously you can see history of Q4s, but you can't see anything else, so you're kind of taking that risk that if you do hold some stock into the Q1 period, you may not be able to actually sell it. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not going to sell, because this kind of thing does sell quite well as a gift, but of course there is the risk because the data does not really give you much to go off. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit here maybe, but even that, there's no actual ranking, but it does show you some data points there. But again, you've got to take that information and make your own decision yourself. Now, a good example would be something like this Ferrero Rocher ball. You know, you could actually say this is probably more related to Easter, to be quite honest, because it's a ball. I mean, maybe you don't see it, maybe I just see it as that. But if you look at the keeper data for the year or the period, it sells all the time, apart from, you know, right in summer. And so if you actually look, it sells obviously quite crazy over the Q4 periods. That isn't actually Q4, but Q4 there, Q4 there, Q4 there, and obviously now. But it doesn't mean that you can't make a decent money. It doesn't mean you can't make decent money outside of those periods. What are you doing? So, what do you want to... Don't ruin my video, Alpha. So what you want to do is you want to actually look here and go, okay, because this is what I did last year. I had some left over, and I actually found some in January at the retailer. And so, no, that's not going to work, he's there. And so what I did is I went and bought some more, because I noticed that outside of these periods, it still sells really well. And actually, you can get a premium sometimes later on in the year. So here, April period. I mean, yes, its price obviously doesn't reflect now's price, but you get what I mean. Usually comes sort of around this period, it spikes up in terms of demand and also the price. So I actually did quite well last, like February, March. Well, not a load of these, but with a selection. I sold out in Q4, but then I bought some more because I was just like, oh wow, you know, actually it sells really well outside the period. That's just used last year, for example. December and everything is busy. But then you look into January and February, and actually the price goes up and the ranking stays. I mean, even there, the ranking in March 12th is pretty much the same as Q4. And then all the way in April. So you got some, this seems to be a gift that's given a lot between those sort of time frames, Mother's Day, Father's Day. Actually, I think that's a little bit after, but Easter, and all that kind of thing. And even in May and stuff, it sells really well at even better premium. And so if the expiry is fine, for me, this would be a product that if you are left with extra stock, rather than trying to break even and get it cleared out, as long as the expiry was good, I would actually potentially be trying to hold more than less of this. So, if you can make, I don't know, 50p profit and you can sell 100 a day now, or maybe it's like, if you've been doing that a little bit already and you've already made some sales, maybe it's worth holding out 100 and leaving this into the Q1 period and making a quid extra. So you're now making 150 profit or something. And if you're actually lucky enough to obviously ride the super highs like here, or you're able to get hold of some more because you see that it's actually now bringing in nice profits in Q1, then you can go and make even more of a premium over this period. And this is a product that I'm not even worried about. I wouldn't be worried about holding, past Q4, because yes, it's really good, really Q4ish, but actually if you look at this, there's not anything crazily related to Q4. Actually kind of comes back here, a little bit of a small lull. I mean, the ranking's still like 10,000, which is still great. Sellers goes down, sellers keeps pretty much off, and then prices go up. So for me, that would be a product that I wouldn't even, if you're looking, oh, should I get rid of this and break even or make a small profit because it's coming to the end of Q4, I'd probably say no. Not that you wouldn't want to. If you want to make some extra profits because your cash flow's low and you're slightly newer as a seller, then of course, by all means, go ahead and do it now, and then you would have more cash for January. And so you've got to sometimes start. But if you're in a position to have a choice, then for me this would be a product that I would want to hold, even if it was just like 50 units, but just have some options for Q1, because I can only, with 50 you can always go and sell it over a month at that same price you were doing here if it didn't work out. So it's not like you really have a massive risk as such attributed to it. And if you wanted to do even less, like 30 units, then again, that should sell within 2-3 weeks, easy, maybe even quicker, because there's hardly any sellers. I'm just giving you some rough sort of estimates. And if you're able to actually hold it, obviously, to this period, then you're making even more money, maybe like 5 or 6 quid profit per unit. But again, you've got to wait that long, and if you can't because of the expiry, or you haven't got the cash flow, then of course you can't do those options. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. That was my quick summary of how I'm going to decide, and how you guys should decide if you should get rid of stock in Q4 or hold it into Q1. And going to leave the video there. Any questions, let me know, comments below, and all that jazz. But yeah, otherwise I'll see you guys on the next one.